Hey there, welcome to episode 272 of the Modern Marketing Engine podcast. I'm Bernie Borges, CMO of Vengreso, and your host. Hey, thanks for listening and for watching on this episode. Hey, my guest on this episode is Ian Barkin, CMO at Sykes. Ian, welcome to the Modern Marketing Engine podcast.
Thank you, Bernie. Thrilled to be here.
Ian, it's kind of funny and ironic that I'm welcoming you to my podcast where you have welcomed me into this gorgeous studio to record this podcast, not just on audio, but on video as well. I'm excited for that opportunity, and thank you for that.
Oh, my pleasure. We both geeked out about audio and video, and I love that you're here and we're doing this.
Absolutely. Well, Ian, as you know, I always like to begin each episode with a brief introduction to the company that you're with, and that's Sykes. So if you would give us that introduction, that overview, and of course, your role as CMO. I also asked you to comment on how you got here, your journey to get here at Sykes.
Certainly. I will try to keep it quick. So Sykes Enterprises Incorporated is a engagement services company, and that primarily means that we do call center. We also do chat and text and some other support. But effectively, we work with the world's leading brands, and we support their clients. So we actually have this really privileged position to support and help their most valuable asset, their customers. Sykes has been around for over 40 years. We are publicly traded on the NASDAQ exchange. We are a $1.7 billion revenue company with 55,000 people all over the world in almost every continent. Lion's share of folks are U.S., Latin America, the Philippines. We've got folks throughout Europe, in India as well. And how did I get here?
Yeah, you've been here a short time, correct?
I have been here a little over a year.
Okay.
So my journey, a little bit of sort of prior history. So I was in outsourcing in my career. I helped and worked in organizations in back office and front office outsourcing. Back office generally meaning like accounts payable and receivable, financial stuff. Front office being more of the picking up phones and speaking to clients, customers. And about 6 years ago, there was a trend towards further optimizing the way that work was done by applying technology in new and exciting ways. And this happened to just be a concept called robotic process automation, is using software to emulate some of the routine tasks that people were doing, often the people that were in these outsourcing teams that we were building and selling to clients. And so I and a few of my friends at the time, colleagues, left our stable day jobs and started a company we called Symphony Ventures. And over the course of 4 years, grew Symphony to the largest boutique RPA consultancy in the world. We were over 200 people. And Sykes saw value at the time in incorporating that sort of digital transformation capability into their service catalog. They wanted what we were doing. And so we had some early discussions. We just gelled as a culture. We liked each other. I was really impressed by the vision and just the demeanor and the personality of the CEO and his team. And the rest is history. So we sold to Sykes.
I have to tell you, Ian, that is so cool to hear that story. A 40-year-old company, 55,000 employees, to acquire a boutique company, bring you into the C-suite.
Right.
So you've got all that rich experience that you brought with you. And so let's transition now to the main topic of this episode, because it kind of sets the stage for that conversation. I've asked you to talk about the 3 pillars of your marketing strategy at Sykes. And the way that you've outlined them is that there's a pillar around internal marketing, 55,000 employees, so marketing to your employee base, marketing to the marketplace, of course, and then, I don't know if you call it a hybrid or not, my words, probably not yours, but also marketing so that you can recruit talent on a global scale. So if we're good with those 3 pillars, why don't we begin with the first one,
Sure.
Your strategy, and even begin with the why of internal marketing.
Right. So I think everyone would agree that the industry in general is in an exciting period of transformation and change. Every enterprise is being told that they need to digitally transform, they need to approach the way that everything, frankly, but the way that they design and sell and support products and services, the way that they engage with their clients, understand them, analyze that understanding, create insight out of it. All of it's changing. And if you're in complex environments, highly regulated environments, it's changing even more so. So what Sykes understood and has for decades, which is why they've survived for decades, is they need to pivot and develop capabilities that serve the end customer, that make them valuable to the end customer. So we had capabilities in-house that met all those criteria. The challenge was how do we create mashups? How do we converge them in ways that are valuable to the market? And then how did we as an organization act as one enterprise that could bring the right tool sets to each discussion? And so what I found when I joined was some really proud, strong, capable components and business units within the organization. But the exciting story was contingent on us all knowing what we were doing, knowing what we sold, knowing who the experts were across the organization. And so, as you mentioned, the concept of an initiative that we call One Sykes was born.
And you hashtag that. One Sykes.
Yes, and I hashtag that. Perhaps, I'm not sure how thrilled people are that I add hashtag when I verbalize it too, but I verbally describe this as hashtag One Sykes as I discuss this internally.
So let's go a little bit deeper on that, because one of the things you shared with me is that you get a chance to visit Sykes facilities around the globe. And that means you get a chance to visit not only with customers, which is terrific, but also with large teams of Sykes people. And so help our listener and our viewer today understand, what does that mean? What is that One Sykes program? And program is my word. I don't know if you're calling it that, but that whole initiative, what does that mean when you go out to a region 5,000 miles away and you meet with people?
Now, it's funny that you struggle with what to call it, because we do too. I don't know if it's an ethos or a philosophy or a program or a project or what have you. It doesn't have an end date, so I don't think of it as a project. It really is more of an ethos. And what I've been doing, what I've had the privilege of doing over the last few actually weeks as well as months, is to visit these centers. Q1 is kickoff season, so often these regions have kickoff. So I was in the Philippines speaking to 450 managers in our Philippines operation only 2 weeks ago, I believe. I was had the chance to present to over 300 managers in Costa Rica. I've spoken to several hundred managers in our EMEA group, and all of them are having kickoffs. All of them have really rallied behind this unifying concept of us being one organization. And so on surface levels, they've branded these kickoffs as We Are One Sykes. And then at a deeper level, I get to share with them all of the exciting things that they're a part of making happen. Right? We are nothing without their passion, with their capability, their focus on keeping customers happy, landing new ones, ramping up and stabilizing early services so that clients are raring to go and trust us to be their partner. And so I've spent a lot of time being in, and it really has been. It's been encouraging that I've been invited as openly as I have been. It's been absolutely a privilege to meet and a pleasure to hang out with so many energized people around the world, and I think they're embracing it, and it will manifest in small and big ways. So.
Yeah, I can't help but think, even though on a much, much smaller scale, Vengreso, we're approximately 30 people, we're also very geographically distributed. We have a small team in the Philippines. We're building a team in Colombia. And then the rest of us are spread across mostly U.S. and Canada. So our hashtag is Vengresonians.
Nice.
So it's a little bit different. And again, much smaller scale, but culture-wise, very similar. It's all about making sure that everyone feels a part of the team, and that they're in touch and in the know with what we're doing.
Yeah. I'll tell you, I mentioned the cultural gelling that we felt when my founders and I met with the leadership at Sykes in those early days when we were in that sort of courtship phase. And they used the same word we used and had used the 4 years that we existed, and it was family. And they used it in a way that was heartfelt and sincere, and we did too. And that was what won me over really very early on. and we used to call ourselves Symphonites for lack of a better way of describing it. But so it was the Symphony family, and we intimately felt that, and we did have a team all over the world, and I think the same mechanisms, same activities function to bond a much larger organization, but that is also a family.
Yeah. Ian, I want to talk about something else that's part of your internal strategy.
Sure.
And that's this little thing you call one take.
Okay.
I don't think you set up the studio just for our podcast recording today.
It's
The
all
studio,
for you. All for you.
all
Bernie.
for me.
Yep.
Today,
Yes.
for this hour. We are in your one take studio. Please share with my listener and viewer, what is one take? What's your strategy behind that?
Sure. So One Take is a video podcast, very much like this. It is voice and video, and you can hear it, or you can watch it and hear it. Or I suppose you could just watch it, although I'm not sure that you get a lot from just watching it. And the intent there was to really open aperture on the stories we were telling. I had spent several years being laser focused on telling a digital transformation, future of work, robotic process automation story. To serve this enterprise and our much broader service set, we needed to open the aperture and talk about customer care and experience, about education, and we actually opened it even further and started to have some really interesting discussions on women in the workplace and the future of work, and change management. And so really the editorial sort of bounds are broad. I love that, and I also think it shows that we as an enterprise value it and are looking at it, and so we'll continue to do that. It is both an internal and an external communication mechanism. I mean, it's meant for the world. It's obviously on podcast
Digital channels. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
But hopefully it is listened to and seen by internal teams all over the world to really see what we're doing together. And so, yes, One Take is, and then the other intent of One Take is to do it well enough that we don't have to post-produce very much. So it's one person's take on a particular topic, and also that we don't screw it up so badly that we can't just go live with whatever we just recorded.
Well, you have an awesome team to make that happen.
I do, indeed.
You mentioned that you're covering broad topics, and I think it's a great opportunity for me to put in a plug for the fact that I had the privilege of being your guest on the One Take show. And
You did indeed.
We of course, talked about modern selling and all things modern selling. So I'll make sure that we link it up in our show notes page.
Perfect.
For this podcast episode, so our listener and viewer can check that out.
Please.
Let's talk about your second pillar, and that's your marketing to the marketplace. I'm going to spill the beans. You've got a hashtag you shared with me that I'd love for you to explain. Not just all talk is the hashtag. What is behind that strategy?
Sure. So this one is very much meant for the external market. It was, again, we are an engagement services company that if you've worked with us for the last 40 years, and some clients we really have had for decades, they know us as a call center company. They know us as being a talk-oriented services organization that, again, cares for their most valuable asset. We talk to their customers. But we do so much more than just talk. And so it was sort of a fun, tongue-in-cheek way to articulate that we are more than perhaps what you know us for. And the investments that we've made allow us to be that much more broad and be what we call a digital partner you can grow with. And it's also sort of a play on the fact that, you know, in at least in English, not just all talk means that we actually get it done, that we're not spinning a tale. And so there's some sort of implicit wink inferred in that too, which is we are a reliable partner. We have been for hundreds of leading brands, and we bring that same philosophy and approach to this much broader set of services. So.
And briefly comment on the broader set of services, because I want my
Sure.
listener to know, again, 40-year-old company, global, and you're not just all talk, right? You're not just a call center company. So,
Yes.
so just briefly elaborate on that.
Sure. So there's really everything on the customer journey an enterprise might imagine. So there's everything and we work with emerging brands now too. So from emerging brands to major global brands, you need to have a brand. So you need to build your brand. You need to get people aware of what you do. You need to then create the services and products and sell them. Once they're sold, you have to support them. And operationally, you have to be efficient about how you do all of that. And so within our service catalog, we have digital marketing, We have the ability to create brands and to build pipeline and traction. We work with major telcos, and we make sure that their advertisements and their offerings are listed high in Google searches, because that is so critical. We then service the volume that comes in when people call in to change an internet plan, for instance. We design the self-help pages so that if you're having issues after you've purchased that product, that you find good, valuable content, oftentimes so that you have a happy customer early on. But if the need arises and they do need to speak to someone, we've got the people for them to speak to. And because of the acquisition of the digital capabilities, we can do the intelligent automation that optimizes all of the operations internally, uses that data after the fact, analyzes it to create greater insight, to then loop back to the beginning and take a look at how do we learn from what we just did to better design digital marketing campaigns next time. So we really do that full gamut, far more than just talk. And we believe, too, that there's a real convergence going on in the market where marketing, sales, and service are blending in ways that we've never seen before. And so there aren't clear barriers between them. And so enterprises are going to need a partner who gets all of the sort of individual stovepipes, because as they sort of glom together, the strength is going to be in those integrations.
Is glom part of your internal
glom is a
vocabulary?
technical term and a foundation to know.
I'm going to connect a few dots, though, Ian. It sounds to me like Sykes as a company has been listening to your customer for quite a while.
Yes.
Because the portfolio of services that you just described, that doesn't happen overnight, and it doesn't happen in a vacuum here in this beautiful ivory tower headquarters in Tampa, Florida.
Exactly.
There's got to be a lot of conversation with customers, listening to customers saying, here's how you can help us.
And there is no way you can innovate in a vacuum or come up with the right. You can have hunches and instinct, but unless you spend the time to intimately have those vision workshops and ideation sessions, whatever you want to call them, nothing valuable and pragmatic is going to surface. So yes, so we spend a lot of time listening to customers. Have it as the very core of what we do, and what's even more important is we listen to our customers' customers. Right, we literally do take. I mean, I don't know the exact.
Well, you're
numbers,
talking
but
to them.
Millions of calls a day.
Yeah.
Listening to people either try to set something up or try to complain about something not being set up, et cetera. So we are sitting in the middle of this torrent of information by the end users about every ounce of their experience, and so we are able to bring that to bear and help our enterprise clients.
Yeah.
Really figure out what
That's
they
terrific.
need to
Well,
do to survive.
That's inspiring for any brand who's listening, large or small. That's inspiring. Let's talk about your third pillar, and that's marketing for talent recruiting. According to your website, you're literally everywhere. You're in North America, Latin America, EMEA, Asia Pacific. I don't know if there's anything left, regionally speaking.
I do not believe we have any Antarctic activity at the moment. So,
Okay, you got to work on that one.
Stay tuned.
So how do you converge, if you will? Again, my word, not necessarily yours. All of your marketing to attract and retain people across the globe.
Right, and that is critical. We are an industry. If you were to look at fundamentally what we are as a company, we are an HR machine. We have to find and attract good talent, often somewhat young talent. We have to assess that they're the right talent. We have to train that talent. And then it's up to us to continue to iterate and evolve their skill set and retain that talent. And so, as an industry, it's no secret that there's generally high attrition rates in what we do. So it all starts again, and we have to go find and attract and train and retain more talent. And what's so fascinating to me is that in every region, every city, every building, there are nuances to the messages that we need to put out to the market to find the right talent. Looking for a call center job in Tennessee is very different than looking for a call center job in Romania or Cyprus or India or China. And so there's a common denominator to the message, who we are, what we stand for, our purpose statement, which is helping people one caring interaction at a time, showing that we really do live and breathe and believe in that. But then being conscious of the very specific nuances of that group of new graduates in that city and what they're looking for and aspiring to do with their careers and their lives. So I love this part of my job, and I get to work with our teams all over the world and figure out what's the common denominator, how big can we make that so that we're not bespoking and customizing everything, but then how do you really take into account what somebody in Manila wants to hear to energize them to join a company like Sykes and to develop at least and to start their career with us and learn with us.
So as you're messaging to potential recruits around the world, are they more likely to be exposed to hashtag one Sykes or hashtag not just all talk, or
Great
yes and
question.
yes?
No and yes. So One Sykes is specifically an internal message, and we thought a lot about that. It's first of all, it's not particularly original. I mean, one and your company name here has been used for time immemorial, really to rally and engage and to build just an energy internally. So there's nothing particularly creative about it, and I don't think it differentiates us in the market. But it's not meant to. It's meant to just unite us internally. The not just all talk is a little bit more creative. It's a little bit more, I guess, funny in some cases, and that is supposed to show off all that we have and all that we do. And then some of these individual campaigns don't even lean on that. It leans on more of just personally what people want for themselves. Right? They want a challenge. They want a team that they like working with. They want a competitive salary. They want commitment to a lifestyle that they are looking for. And so that's where the nuance comes in. But so it's more not just all talk with flavors that relate to that particular community.
Okay. And is there any trend that you're seeing? Is there anything as it pertains to that messaging as you go global, as you are global, and you're messaging to the marketplace? We're in a new decade, so perhaps the messaging delivered now in 2020 is different than it was 10 years ago in 2010.
Right.
So are there any trends that you're seeing on how the message is being received?
Well, I think everybody wants to do valuable work and feel like they are valuable. I don't know that that's changed. But I feel like the newer generations really do take to that. It's not just salary necessarily. And then there's absolutely a focus on digital and on just transformation, innovation in general. So I think people want to feel like their ideas matter, that they can contribute, that they'll have challenging and interesting jobs where they get to work in collaboration with technology. And so it's incumbent on us to make it clear how we're investing in technology and the capabilities we have internally, and how they might be able to work with it. They might find it as an augmenting colleague of theirs in the future, because I think that excites the young graduates that we're talking to.
And I would think that digital communication, social media, et cetera, is playing a big role in just getting your brand out in front of those prospective candidates that you're recruiting, and creating that brand impression and that family feel before that candidate even comes in for the interview.
Absolutely. And that's another part of my job. I love to be in a particular city and ask which channels matter and are used where they are. So in the Philippines, for instance, it's Facebook. If you want to get out to the community that matters to you, Facebook. Other places, it could be Instagram, it could be Twitter, it could be TikTok, it could be any number of other channels. And that's very unique to the culture and the country. So it's important to understand them and use the right ones, and not the ones that date you rather than make you fresh and exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, at Vengreso, we call that an Omni-Channel Approach, and that's just meet your customer where they are.
Absolutely.
In this case, the customer I'm referring to is that candidate.
Yes.
So, Ian, we're at a point in the episode where I want to do a very brief recap of our talking points. And then I'm going to ask you to give us a parting thought, and then we'll ask you for your digital contact information, and we'll call this episode to a wrap, even though I don't want to, because I'm having such a great time here in the studio with you. We began our conversation with your brief introduction to Sykes, a 40-year-old company, 55,000 employees strong. You're in the business of delivering engagement services to both emerging companies and global brands around the world, and really helping them, 40 years into it, be more than just a call center, but really helping them sell, service, and support throughout the entire customer journey, as I understand it. So that's a fabulous evolution of the company. And of course, you've been with the company a little over a year now as CMO. You told the story about how your previous company was acquired by Sykes, and you came into the C-suite as CMO. And we've been discussing your three pillars of marketing, beginning with internal marketing, and we talked about the importance of you really unifying everyone under the common message so that everyone understands who we are. You use phrases, things about how, we're a family, and we really need to all understand who we are as a company and how we deliver value to the marketplace. You've been going around the world, the kickoff sessions, really kind of telling that story and meeting with managers to get their feedback. We also talked a little bit about the One Take video podcast, which you do right here in this beautiful studio. And we put a shameless plug in for my episode.
Of course.
And that's a video podcast where you're just talking about a broad set of business topics. And I think it's a terrific way for you to get the message out both to the marketplace, because it is public domain content, and also internal as well. And we talked about your external brand marketing and messaging. I love the hashtag Not Just All Talk, and how that refers to the fact that you're way more than just a contact center. And as I mentioned just a moment ago, you help your customer throughout the entire customer journey and have a vast, robust set of capabilities and service offerings. And so the hashtag Not Just All Talk is a way for you to deliver that messaging to the marketplace. And then we talked about the importance of marketing for talent recruiting with an employee base of 55,000 and growing. You use the phrase, you're an HR machine. I love that. And how you have to constantly be attracting and retaining talent and being able to deliver the message to them on a consistent basis. And we talked about things like leveraging social media and the different social media platforms in the specific region that you're marketing to and recruiting in, and then knowing exactly how to reach and engage those people. So it's bringing these three pillars together: internal, external, and also for talent recruitment. I think it's a fascinating case study in this 30-minute podcast. I'm really impressed with the fact that Sykes brought you in as an outsider into the role of CMO, already being a 40-year-old company. And I want to ask you to just leave us with a parting thought on that. How do we tie these three pillars together for my listener and for my viewer on this episode?
Sure. So first and foremost, that was an outstanding summary. I need you to present to the board. You understand what I do better than I do at this point. So yes, as you say, it was both a big leap to make an acquisition of a digital transformation consultancy, and then to take one of the founders of it and put them in the position that I've been put in. Really is visionary. And I think what I've seen, and it's an interesting opportunity. It's been such a privilege to be here, to be able to play a part, to see just how things are done in a larger and established company. And so I've taken both the opportunity and the challenge to heart, and I embrace just the fact that I am a student every single day. I'm a student in the broader scope of what we do. I'm a student in the markets that we serve from and serve, the clients that we have. And honestly, I'm a student, too, of how to build brand and message. I was able to do so pretty well with a small, scrappy startup. But it was a different time and a different place and a different product. This is a much different challenge. And so I really have... I've depended on so many folks in my life, so many members of the team who are experts in their craft, who contribute to this bigger narrative of how do we stitch together the technology, the storytelling, the challenges that our clients face, so that we hit the right balance of how we present Sykes as an enterprise, how we present our individuals as champions of the change our clients need. So I guess I would say, in summary, I feel so lucky that I'm here. It really has been an amazing journey. Every day there's a longer list of things I realize I need to learn and I don't know yet than the list of things I did learn and I now know. And I am so energized by that. And so honestly, listening to experts like yourself actually, in the podcast that you've done, and the insights from so many, and how we equip our salespeople to tell stories and present themselves on social media better, how we do wrap a relatively complex story together so that we're not only getting out over omni-channels, but we are telling an omni-channel story, and we're able to. So that's really the excitement, the challenge, and the mission every day, and I'm loving it.
I can see that. Visually, I can see that in your body language, and of course, I'm hearing it with authenticity. I love your reference to the journey from a scrappy startup to a very established brand. And again, just kudos to Sykes for recognizing the talent opportunity. And I'm going to continue to watch your journey and your success. And if I can contribute in any way, you know how to reach me.
I do.
So on that note, where can people connect with you digitally online?
Sure. So I am an avid LinkedIn user. I absolutely love the platform. So they can just find me on LinkedIn, Ian Barkin. I think it's /ibarkin is my URL. I've published LinkedIn Learning courses on there, so a lot of people can engage with me and see some of the craft and what I've been trying to teach the market and my passions over the past. And so please connect, follow me, get in touch, send me questions that you have, and I look forward to engaging with folks that way.
Fantastic. Well, Ian, thank you so much for hosting me and us on this episode. Thank you for the amazing team behind all that equipment over there. And just thank you so much for your contribution to the Modern Marketing Engine podcast on this episode. And on that note, we'll literally wave to sign off and remind my listeners and my viewers that everything we discuss here today will be on our show notes page at vengreso.com. Ian, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Bernie. It was a pleasure.